Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 378. My name is Brando, eager to talk today to Tim Troccoli. Am I saying that right? By the way, it's been a while since we've spoken.
Yeah, it has. You sure are, though. Yep, that is correct.
It's been a while. I say it's been a while because I don't remember the episode, but I can date it with the fact that at the time, the lead singer of Adler's Appetite was Constantine Marouliticus, however you say it, from American Idol. Great dude. It did not last very long, but that was the last time you were on. We were talking about the Appetite for Destruction box set, and
That's right.
now uh, it's like a long time ago, and it's not that long ago. It's interesting. Before we get into the User Illusion box set, how are you, buddy? You have a lot of boxes and sets behind you if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, kind of in the middle of going through my entire collection right now, trying to sort out what I have extras of and what I don't have extras of, because people are wanting to know and wanting to buy stuff. So I don't want to accidentally sell anything that I don't have an extra of. I think I've done that in the past, actually. So that's what this chaos is behind me. Not my entire collection, but a lot of it anyway. And yeah, doing well. Just got back from Japan and Thailand. Went to the Japan shows.
Wow.
Sort of went to the Thailand show. Long story, but
Okay.
yeah, first time overseas for any reason, whether GNR or otherwise. So it was an experience.
Wow. So there is a lot to talk to you about today, not just because it's like you and Kevin Belasco, or as far as I know, the two, I don't know. I want to know the Mount Rushmore of Guns N' Roses collectors.
Well,
You two are there. It's not me. I have a lot, but I know there are more than me.
there are other people out there who, for whatever reason, and that's their business, I guess, but they choose to remain kind of anonymous.
Okay.
They might have more higher end items, like stage used things. For me, I was, and no, there's no offense to anyone out there, but I was never really into like the whole, stage use this or stage use that, because I think it's very hard to prove. And not that it matters when you own that thing, but when you go to sell it, that matters a lot. And
Sure.
um, and also instruments and stuff. I mean, maybe if I was a musician, I might be more into that. Plus, it's definitely more out of my range, I think, of what I can afford. So there's that as well. And believe me, this costs enough as it is doing all this and the damn lithographs and everything else. Um, but yeah, they're out there for the and I try not to really disparage anyone's collection, whether it's one item or a million items. I love it all, and I love to see what people have and hear their stories of how they got things and all that kind of stuff. I find very fascinating. But there's some guys out there in I think the guy lives in Spain and France, and a few guys in Australia that have some pretty great stuff. So they're out there.
I love it. And that's why whenever I have a fan like yourself, I'm just a fan. I happen to just work in radio and start this podcast, but I'm a fan. What's your most prized possession? And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a guitar, because I'm like you. I don't have the means. I like, the lithographs. Those are a lot of fun. I'm a big t-shirt collector, a big hat collector. I really like your Guns N' Roses hat
Thank you.
right now.
I like it's kind of a rare one because the back of it, I'll try to show you guys. I don't know if you can read this or not. You see it says "Get in the Ring," and
Ooh.
it's embroidered and everything. And so I've never seen too many other ones of these, maybe none, in fact. So yeah, I like this one a lot. That's one of my not my favorite song of theirs, but I like that song a lot. But my prized possession, wow, you know, I think if I had to break it down, one of my most favorite items, so this is a little slightly different category, but the song Estranged, they had a US promo CD for that. There was never an official US single for that. There are singles from other countries like Australia, New Zealand, France, but for the US, there was only a promo single for a promo CD single. And if you ever get it, and if you ever, it's hard to take like photographs of, but if you hold it in person, the color of the actual CD, like, the front of it, not the back, is just insanely beautiful in my opinion. So, and it's also my favorite song by any band of all time. So maybe that holds a special place in my heart.
Sure.
In terms of like most prized possession, though, if we're talking like maybe rarity and value and everything else, probably the purple banner that hung behind him in 1985 and 1986. Like, it's just kind of crazy that that came into my possession, but it really worked out because that's a big part of what led to the Appetite box of my involvement in it anyhow. But yeah, I would say that. But believe me, there's a lot of items on that list. I can assure you, but if I just had to tell you one right now, that'd be it.
And if people want to look, I know chances are if you're listening to this podcast, you may know, but it's TrocoliTM.com. Is that the website?
That's correct. Yeah. And the problem is it was I had it on through Yahoo. I was using this program called Site Builder to make it. It's very easy and simple, right? And that's why my website is very basic. A lot of people don't like that, I think, because I don't know how my website displays when people are reviewing it on a phone. I tend to use my personal PC a lot more than I use my phone to navigate on the internet. I think other people don't. But they're retiring that program, and so now I'm gonna have to maybe even rebuild the entire damn site. So it's gonna be unfortunate, but it's gonna take some time, and it needs an update anyway. I haven't updated in a year, so there's a lot of items to add to it. But yeah, it's currently up right now, and that's it. Just unupdated. Yes.
It looks like the old school forum days where there's a lot of logos everywhere. And you know what? I don't have a website. I use Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and I've thought so long and hard about just the effort that goes into, and yeah, there are all these easy sites that help you make a website. I understand that, but it's everything is so time consuming. I mean, I just made a TikTok. I feel dirty. About it. But I mean, all I'm doing is I'm not dancing. Don't worry, Tim. None of that. I'm basically repurposing interview clips that maybe the kids haven't seen yet, kind of thing. Just getting my name out there. So, but regardless, yeah, it's cool just to go through what you have. I had no idea though it had been that long. So let's just kind of get into the box set, because I will, before anything else, what's your history? Because you are, for those who don't know, who didn't listen to that first episode when we spoke about your involvement in the original box set, you're just a fan who has a lot of stuff, and management reached out to you. So, and I understand you can't say everything, so whatever you can talk about.
No, yeah, that's correct. I'm just a regular person, right? I mean, I never really had an agenda when I was collecting any of this. I just did it for myself. And one of the reasons for the website is not only so fans can see it, but sadly, so I can see it as well, because I gotta tell you, as you can see behind me, it's all in boxes and closets, and none of it's hung up or displayed around my house. Not that I'm against displaying it or anything. I just haven't got around to it. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't possibly put it all up. I don't have a house that big. So it's also so that I can see it. But yeah, there's this guy in LA. His name is Jeff Gold. He runs a site called recordmecca.com. He sells high-end memorabilia. Bryn Bridenthal, who used to be Guns N' Roses publicist for a long time.
Okay.
She sold like her entire collection to this dude, or maybe had him sell it on her behalf. Not really sure what the deal or the relationship was there. I know there's one guy who bought a lot of it. He's got some really great stuff. Thankfully, one of the things I was able to buy was this demo cassette that was given to her in 1986 by Tom Zutat. I'm not sure how to pronounce that guy's name still.
I always screw it up too.
Yeah,
Tommy Z.
Right, Tommy Z.
The one that's in all the behind the musics, and one that was represented by Pete Davidson in the dirt. That guy.
Right.
And sells cars now. And sells cars.
Yeah, exactly. Right. People have seen those videos of it. Right.
No judgment.
Yeah, he does. And so she had this demo cassette, and I was just interested from a memorabilia standpoint. Thankfully, it had already someone had already transferred it to a CD, so I could listen to it when I bought it, right? But anyhow, I think when they were putting this box set together, I don't know, maybe they just didn't bother doing too deep of a dive of research yet, so they didn't maybe know what they had exactly, and so I assume maybe they think that they didn't have the Sound City demos on the reels, like the original reels, and so they reached out to him for this demo tape. He told him he sold it. Then he reached out to me and asked me if it was okay for them to contact me, and I said, yeah, of course, right? And so they called me, and I told them I had it. And then in our conversation, I directed him to my website, and he saw all the other stuff I had, including the purple banner, and that I could just hear like the gears turning in his head as we're talking on the phone. And I think the plans for the entire box set changed at that moment in time. Now, before anyone comes down on me, it wasn't my idea to have like all these trinkets and stuff and facsimiles of memorabilia that were in the big box, right? The loaded box. But and I had no control of the price or any of that kind of stuff or the content. I can tell you that right now. But yeah, I had. Thankfully, I was off in the next couple of days because they wanted me to box up pretty much everything that I had from the Appetite and the Lies era and send it off to them via UPS. So
Wow.
it was nerve-wracking too, because what if this stuff gets damaged or lost in the mail and all this kind of stuff. But it all worked out. I don't know. People told me, oh, you should have asked for money or you should have asked for this. I find that kind of a weird kind of vibe or situation to be in. And me, I'm a memorabilia guy. So basically what I kind of wanted and what I got was, just, hey, give me one copy of everything that comes out of this, right? And so they did. In some cases, multiple copies, like a regular version and a promo version. And we've kind of kept our relationship going, and obviously did the same thing for the User Illusion box. And before anyone even asks, according to the guy, when I speak with him, when I talked with him, he said it was the band's decision on Appetite not to include anything live, whether video or audio, right? Excluding the It's So Easy video that they updated, right? And on the User Illusion box, it was their decision. He said not to include any demos or outtakes or alternate takes or whatever the phrases that people use for these kinds of versions of songs. I don't know. Maybe they'll come out in the future. I have no idea. I did ask him, like, is there a plan for any future, what they call it, like Blu-ray audio of the User Illusion albums? He said there was no plans for that in the future, but and again, I didn't ask him why that's the case, right? But sure. I do wonder. But yeah, that's kind of like the short breakdown of my involvement and all this stuff. And sometimes, by the way, people wonder. I can't answer, and I meant to ask him this when I went there. And this past summer, I went to Universal to hang out with this guy. But I meant to ask him why it didn't get released on the actual 30th anniversary of Appetite or User Illusion, for that matter. And User Illusion may have been even my fault a little bit, I wonder, because it took me a while to send all the memorabilia to them. I kind of dragged ass on that. It's true. Sometimes I wonder if I'm to blame a little bit, at least. But yeah.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. First things first, again, you're my kind of collector, because I thought of you. I don't know if you're, because obviously you're a Guns N' Roses collector, obviously. If you collect anything else.
Great question. Yeah, people ask me that a lot. I used to collect Aerosmith and Metallica.
Okay.
The problem is, well, a couple of problems. One, the biggest problem of all, and this goes for a Guns N' Roses collection as well, space, right?
Sure.
Even in a house, I mean, there's finite space. And for example, people always ask me if I have the pinball machines. Not only, I mean, are they pricey if you don't know that already, especially the new ones, probably even more pricey than the original one is, but it takes space, right? I mean, I do have a garage and everything that I could put them in because I usually park my car outside, but still, maybe one day I'll get around to it. Aerosmith, there was so much stuff. I mean, think about it. That band goes back to, was 71 or 73, when the first 70s, album comes, before that, if you want to include like, club days or whatever before
Sure.
they got a contract. And then Metallica, it got priced out of that market, because there was a guy who used to run this website and had all kinds of stuff of Metallicas, and him and some other collectors, they got together and came up with like a top 100 Metallica list, like top 100 rare items. And when they did that and they made that list public, it caused the prices of everything to skyrocket. And he eventually took that down because they were upset that their prices skyrocketed. But ever since then, yeah, definitely priced out of the Metallica market, man. And I'm kind of glad, because Metallica, if we want to talk about lithographs real quick, when they have a concert, they have a VIP lithograph, they have a regular lithograph, and have all these like artist prints and alternate like
Oh,
versions.
really?
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
I had no idea. I had no
Yeah.
idea. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, because it's been a long time since I've seen Metallica. I think I saw the Summer Sanitarium tour, which is
Yeah.
like, over a decade
Yeah.
ago. But I think of you whenever it's not on now currently, but it was WWE Hidden Treasures.
Mm.
And if you don't know what that show is, I actually had Charlotte Flair on this podcast talking about it. And then we also spoke about her Guns N' Roses Patience tattoo.
Nice.
And it's WWE trying to recollect memorabilia, things that have been lost through the grapevine and then passed down or lost, Ric Flair's robe or the Iron Sheik's boots, or things of just Kane's mask, the Undertaker's glove, all these kind of things. And that's just what I think of you, because it's like Guns N' Roses probably just kept coming back to you. Maybe Tim has it, maybe this person has it, that person, because these things get lost. And so that part is really fascinating. And I also think about, and I respect you, where, yeah, the money thing, right? I'm not, I'm like you. I really am. I'm despite that's like the one stereotype I am not, being a Weisler. I am I just not after money. I never, I don't talk about, donating. If you want to see something, follow me on YouTube. I want YouTube pay me, TikTok, let TikTok pay me. I want those things to happen, not you. But you remind me of that fan, and I believe, oh God, was it Aaron Judge's maybe 60th home run? I don't know if it was the 61st or something like that, but the fan didn't ask for any money. He just gave it to him. And of course, regardless, though, the Yankees gave him like all this memorabilia and tickets and all these things. But he could have held out for $1 million if he wanted to, and it would have soured the relationship. And it's great that it didn't, because now you have this opportunity with Use Your Illusion. So let me say this, because you're already kind of defending yourself with some aspects. Like, I didn't have involvement in this part of the box set, but I did. They took some of my stuff. So I believe, throughout, maybe it's been so long, years since we had that conversation. But yeah, the box set, the price. Look, it is what it is. You're beating a dead horse, to use a pun, a Guns N' Roses pun. The price went down a lot. If I had the means, it was very cool. I think all the trinkets, all that stuff was very cool. I think it was a cool thing to own. That's also something else. If you're buying something like that, if you're not just a streamer like me, it takes up space. So where am I going to put that? So that's the Appetite box set. Use Your Illusion box set. Obviously, we've been waiting. Like everything else with Guns N' Roses, we've been waiting. And I see you on the fan spot Facebook page, and just letting people know it's coming. It's coming. Well, we're all doubting, even myself. I'm like, is it really coming? And I think I give credit Slash on the last day of summer, literally hours away from returning to be fall. That's when, like, I think the first single was released from the box set to the streaming service. So you got it in. Be Saved by the Bell. So can you tell us about that process? Can you tell us what you donated? Are you allowed to do that?
Well, and I should be clear that it wasn't, per se donations of anything. I mean, they definitely sent me everything back,
Okay.
so, you know,
So
but
what is it called then? I guess educate me on the
like,
process.
I don't know, I guess I lent them stuff, I
Okay.
suppose would be it, right? But I mean, and another reason for not asking for, sometimes if you ask for money or you ask for too much, maybe then you have no involvement going forward. Because think about it, in the memorabilia aspect of both of these boxes is I mean, of course, I'm a memorabilia person, so for me, yeah, that's very exciting. But for other people, it's more about, and understandably so, more about the music, right? Whether live or studio or whatever. And so from that aspect, they didn't need me, right? They could have made this box without any of my stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I didn't want to, go there to take that chance either. It's great being involved in any kind of way at all. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry, and I can't remember what you asked me just now.
Well, it's kind of reiterating that you weren't just like to see an opportunity, like, oh, here's my chance. Because you know what? Some fans are like this. And I am not like this. This is why I hope one day, even before I started this podcast, just a dream of mine to one day interview Slash. It wasn't I wasn't using this. I'm not using this platform because I deserve it or I expect it or anything from. It's just kind of if it happens, great. Whatever I get back from the band, if ever that ever happens, great. I'm appreciative of what I've gotten back from just the community. And you're the same person, so you're just appreciative of the opportunity.
Right.
But there are fans who will only do things to get something back. And so that's kind of the point. And that's not a fan. That's not being a fan, in my opinion.
I mean, I guess, like I tried, for me, because I get, sometimes on various forums and groups on the internet, shit a lot of times because people think I'm hoarding like stuff that's never, like, I think they, like, in terms of like maybe unheard songs or demos or whatever. And first of all, I can tell you, one, I'm not. Two, even if I was, I don't have the job where I can be embroiled in any kind of legal controversy, right? Number one, and so yeah, I would, of course, if I had that kind of stuff, obviously I would love to share it with everyone. I mean, I know we're all ultimately, regardless of arguments we get into or otherwise, we're all just fans in the end. I would love to, if I had this kind of stuff, to share it with everyone, but that's not my place, right? And I respect copyright laws and, infringement and stuff like that.
Yes,
You know,
we know all about that in the Guns N' Roses world and on this podcast. But that lends itself to, and you can say whatever or not say,
right.
whatever you lent them. And I'm assuming maybe you're referring to the audio files. And I'll just say this before you take off on that. Is that's something I first learned really on this podcast. Is it's one thing to, and no offense, it's hard to argue the hoarding thing when you look at your background right now. But it's your office. It's your office. No offense.
Right.
I'm sure the rest of your house is pristine. You can eat off the rest off the floor. But but it's the hoarding of music and the leaks, and I just don't understand that because what is it was just in the new, maybe just think of the new Hellraiser where the guy just looked at the painting just for his own eyes. And I just don't understand that level of sorrow. You know what? I don't care if I offend the person. I don't, because I'm not thinking of anyone specifically, but the ego, just like this is just for my ears. It's one thing if like this is my shirt. This is my shirt. You can't have my shirt.
Right.
But if it's music, why wouldn't you want to share it unless it's the band? And that's a whole other story. That's
Right.
not what we're talking about here. So are you able to talk about what you lent?
Yeah, of course. Most of what I lent to them was just, again, like physical memorabilia in terms of, uh, flyers, pictures, that kind of stuff. For audio, nothing on it for User Illusion, but for Appetite box set,
Okay.
it was that demo tape from Brim Bridenthal. It was also their original demo tape that had, like, Vicky Hamilton's name on it. When they put it in the box, they like blacked out her name and everything on there, right? But it was this. I have this other demo tape of theirs that has like Izzy's name on it, like, but it's called Izzy Stranded instead of Izzy Stradlin. A lot of people don't know he went by Izzy Stranded before Stradlin.
I've seen that the document when they first signed circulate.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah, that's really funny.
And I think this other demo tape that I had, I might have even sent them the Hollywood Rose demo tape that I had in hopes that they might put those songs on there, But it's funny because for User Illusion box set, when it was in the stages of like, let's gather stuff for this, right? I know And people, some of the people out there will know what I'm talking about. There's like a West Arkeen demo tape that floats out there, and it has like various songs. Um, and of course, then there's all the other tracks that were recorded sort of during the User Illusion time frame. You know, Just Another Sunday, Sentimental Movie, things like this, right? But again, they weren't interested in any of that because they weren't going to put that on the box for whatever reason. And some people argue that some of those songs aren't even Guns N' Roses songs; they're more like West Arkeen songs or just other project, whatever you want to call it, songs.
Okay.
Then there's outtakes from Spaghetti Incident, right? Stuff like that. But there was, I did plead with them to put this one part for the song Coma, right? There's this alternate take or whatever you want to call it, where the part in the song where Axel's like, all I need is some clarity and someone tell me what the fuck is going on. But he sings like, all I need is some clarity and someone else to write the fucking lyrics to this song. And it's hilarious, right? It's awesome and it's hilarious. And I was like, even if you just put that like little clip on there, you don't have to put the entire thing, right? I think people would appreciate it and find it kind of funny. Like maybe a hidden track, it used to be with CDs would come out, and sometimes if you listen to it after the last song ends, all of a sudden there's like a hidden track that plays,
Sure.
That would be so cool, right? But I asked him in an email just recently. He said there's nothing hidden in the boxes anywhere. Whether he's messing with me or there really is, I don't know. But I believe him when he tells me there isn't. But
okay.
So yeah, nothing was lent like that. But I gotta say, yeah, if I had something that for some reason Guns N' Roses didn't have, and I was the only one who had it, of course I would let them have it and put it out there. I definitely wouldn't be like, no, I'm gonna keep it and no one else ever gets to hear it. No. And by the way, if I did have any like, awesome, amazing stuff, while I do believe in not putting it out there for everyone, because again, I don't want to get sued or looked into by the police or the FBI or whatever. Of course, if there were people physically present with me in my house, I would love to play it for them or whatever, obviously, yes, I'm definitely not against that kind of thing at all. So yeah, I wish I had stuff like that they want. One of the things that for the Appetite box, I don't know if people saw this or noticed this. There was like these 3 photos from 1986 that Al Saib, he was a photographer for the LA Times. And I can't remember who wrote the story, but there was a story in the LA Times about the band, and one of these pictures is in that article. But these 3 other pictures that are kind of outtakes from that session, they didn't have them, and Al Saib doesn't even have the negatives anymore, nor does the LA Times. So I lent them those pictures so they could put those in there, because I think a lot of people wanted to see that, and I think they're pretty cool pictures from that time. So yeah, I try to lend stuff like that if I can. Absolutely.
When is the Troccoli Museum coming up?
I would love, man. It's funny because speaking of recent things in the news, I would love to win like a lottery, like the Powerball or something, because that might be one of the absolute things I would do if I did win, right? Open up something like that, free of charge to everyone. Come on in, check it out.
Oh, look at that. We got to all chip in for Powerball. Okay. All Guns N' Roses fans. And this is all going towards our own museum that funded by curator Tim Troccoli. Let's do it. It starts right now. Chinese democracy starts now. Oh, I love it.
I've thought about like having like, I think it'd be cool to do something like, and maybe we'll all do this if and when, knock on wood, the band isn't active anymore, or even worse, if anyone, passes away or anything, but like a yearly convention or something, that'd be kind of cool with all different kinds of things there.
Yeah, I'm jealous of the Kiss fans a little bit in that regard. I am. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be so I don't know, maybe in the future, of course, the Beatles is always Beatlemania, things like that. So yeah, who knows? Maybe this is where it all starts. Maybe Tim, we'll start brainstorming. But so let me just say, with the box set, we were talking about the price and everything, and of course, me hosting a podcast, it's not like I'm here at Ryan Seacrest. People really care about my opinion, but people do ask, what do you think about the box set? I was excited. I am excited. It's out. Everything sounds great. I got everything. I'm listening to everything on Spotify. I will say that the Blu-ray, look, I'm not condoning going on YouTube, but it's there. And I don't know how long. I don't know who's posting it. It's been there. And also being the host of a GNR podcast, I get unsolicited MP4s of it saying like, "Oh, here, buddy." I didn't even ask for it. So I had no choice but to watch it. But the Ritz gig, Ritz 91. And how, if I may ask, Tim, how old of a guy are you?
I am 45 right now.
All right, so I'm 39. So when was the first time you saw Guns N' Roses?
First time I saw him was actually you might have been at this show, I wonder. Although we didn't know each other, I don't think, but the 2002 Madison Square Garden show,
Okay.
December 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
After the tour derailed right after that, right? But
Yes, it did. Okay,
that show was crazy, man. Because remember, it was like snowing like a son of a bitch outside, and
yep, it was a blizzard. We probably discussed that before, so forgive me for not remembering. But yes, that was my first Guns N' Roses show. But I'm telling you, watching that in Blu-ray, and I'm just watching it on my laptop. Holy shit! It was like I saw Guns N' Roses for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to really unpack there with the Blu-ray itself, because all we really had officially, right, were the Tokyo DVDs, the 92 Tokyo. And it's funny, you talk about a band like Kiss, we're talking about that, and they give you everything. We're talking about Metallica, they give you a lot. They really do, especially these last few years of opening up the vault. And Guns N' Roses, we're beating, again, a dead horse. We're beating it to death. And that's all we had. And I have those DVDs that were gifted to me. I remember from an ex-girlfriend who we bonded over GNR. Same thing with Welcome to the Videos. But with this, I had never seen Izzy in this fashion, really, because obviously our first Guns N' Roses show, 2002, Izzy long gone. For some people, Guns N' Roses long gone. And I had just see Izzy Stradlin fronting the band on Dust and Bones and his songs, and Shannon Hoon coming out there for You Ain't the First and Don't Cry. Just wow. It's like almost a mixture of awe. Like I'm seeing this band almost like I'm there because it's shot in Blu-ray and it's so different. I don't know the technology, because obviously the cameras back then weren't as sophisticated as they made it look. Just brilliant shit. But I gotta say this, Tim, and looking behind you and all the stuff that you have and all the stuff that Guns N' Roses have, and I loved it. And I appreciate all of those who I was like live tweeting it. I don't know how that happened. I found myself. I didn't set out to do it. I just had to keep talking about things. Axl saying that Live and Let Die was a present they recorded for Paul McCartney. All these little tidbits of just almost history. Like it's something like this time capsule has been opened after all these years. But why did it take so long? So you don't need to apologize, Tim, for taking however long you got your stuff in for the box set. But the major question is, why so long just to release this hidden gem of a show that universally the fans are just like, whoa, we're all loving it. And the price and stuff we could talk about in a minute. But did you get to watch it at all yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. I psyched you up,
and I don't know, because when I got back from my luck, the stuff all arrived the day after I left for Japan and Thailand.
Okay.
Thankfully I had neighbors, looking out, and they collected it for me and I got it. But when I came back, pretty much had to go to work right away. And so I didn't have time to watch it yet, but I'll be off, today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and I definitely will. I kind of wonder if they had planned on releasing this way back when, because from what I understand, someone said that, like, I don't know, Slash makes a comment in the concert like, hey, everyone, you'll be on TV or something like that. So I kind of wonder if they had planned on releasing this and something derailed it. Who knows what, right?
I actually quote, this is part of my live tweeting, and I had so much fun of it. So Slash says, y'all will be on TV and you can call your moms and shit.
There we go. Right.
31 years later, here we are. So it's interesting, and then perhaps you can give your thoughts and opinion on the average Guns N' Roses fan, the average rock fan has no idea about what was filmed during Use Your Illusion, how they really were trying to make almost a song remains the same, or just a documentary. There was just all this film shot by, was it shot by Del James? I'm not sure who was shot, or he was, no, I don't think it was, but it was just, we know that footage exists.
Right.
And we know that there have been pro shots of multiple Use Your Illusion shows. So it just begs the question, why, wait all these years to get one show, which is an 11 out of 10. And just imagine what's still on the cutting room floor, what they have. So it's just, it's good that we have your website, because we get some stuff to look at, because they're not giving us a lot. And I hate to be a hater. I don't want to sound like a hater, because it's cool. I don't want to discourage anyone from buying it. Look, I'm a poor radio DJ. If you have the means, get it. But I streamed everything. If they sell the Blu-ray separately at some point, I've seen a lot of fans say that they wish it was sold separately. Buy it. It's an awesome show. So I'm just curious in your thoughts on what's taking so long. What the hell is going on to go back to coma?
I mean, it's a great question. And when, of course, when the Appetite Box got released, I remember all the feedback from people that we had. I say we had, like I'm in like work for them or anything, but that was out there. And so before the Use Your Illusion box came out, I put some feelers out there, and I said, what do you people want to see on this thing, right? Not only in terms of music, but in terms of live stuff or anything. And so I collated everyone's feedback, and I sent it all to the label. Now I also learned a lot from this whole thing, right? Because I was under the impression that they filmed every single show in the Use Your Illusion tour.
Okay.
And maybe they did. But one thing I learned from talking to fans and everything is that even if they did, not all cameras are the same necessarily, right? Of course. And apparently the cameras that they used for this show were very high end, and hence the result we get even 30 years later that looks amazing, right?
Okay.
Whereas if we want to talk about things that are out there that people probably have seen by now, that House of Blues Vegas show that everyone was dying to see.
Yeah.
If you watch that, like, what the fuck did they film this on? Like, it looks like shit, in my opinion. So, now maybe that's because we don't have the raw file. Who knows the reasons why it looks that way? But so apparently not every show is going to be out there was shot like this. And
okay,
that's unfortunate. But I do think there are some more out there that were, and why they're holding on to that or whatever, I couldn't tell you. Now, then we have the audio, right? Now, I'm pretty sure there's soundboard audio of every show. I don't know why there wouldn't be, I guess. Why wouldn't they record it, right? It doesn't kind of makes really a lot of sense, at least for the Use Your Illusion days. For all the concerts that happened before that, who knows what's recorded and what's not, right? I would have to think, imagine you're them in 1988 and you're going to go to Japan for the first time in your career. I'd have to think someone recorded that show, right? Or maybe one of the Australian shows.
Sure. I mean, you hope it doesn't get lost over the years for whatever reason.
At the very least, we know that MTV aired the Ritz in 1988. So whether MTV owns that, whether Guns N' Roses owns it, or whether Universal owns it, whoever it is, I'm sure it's sitting somewhere. And I know it's already out there, and there's fans out there who work on making these things all look all shiny for a current generation, and that's great and everything. But if they have it and if they could, master it and put it out there, I say why not? In my opinion, like, let's face it, whether people like it or not, there's a lot of bands out there, and Guns N' Roses is one of them, that at this point in time, and we're talking even years ago, it's a business at this point, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of separate from the band and the label and the management, it's a business. And so obviously one of your main goals is to make money. You have the stuff that's out there. There's people that want to see it. I say win-win, make money, right?
Right.
I don't get it. And I know for sure, I'm not saying every single, there's obviously when they have merchandise that shows, some things do sell out, right? And there's no more of it. There's things that don't. And I know it's sitting in warehouses, just in boxes, and it's like, put it on your website, sell it, man. I mean, why not? I maybe there's things I don't know, logistics that I don't know about. Maybe there's reasons for this that they haven't done it. I don't know. But yeah, so I do think about the unreleased audio and video. and what's going to become of it someday. I remember, I could swear I was told when the Appetite box came out that the reason why they were holding on to certain things and not putting it on there, oh, we're going to release that like for Christmas or for this or whatever, and it never came to be. It's one thing, like, okay, like again, like how we're theorizing that maybe they plan to release this back then because of Slash's comment, right? And okay, fine, something happens, maybe Izzy leaving the band, who knows, that derailed it, right?
Right.
But why then is it forgotten for so many years? Like, it's one thing to have like a delay of a couple of years before it comes out again, sort out the legal ramifications or whatever. But I'm glad someone finally remembered and it's out there now. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, that Izzy is such a, and I mentioned it before, such a prominent part in it. And there's a few themes I noticed, not just the fact that this is just Guns N' Roses at their peak, one of their many peaks before it all, insert whatever you want to say, went to shit, or people left, quit, fire, whatever you want to, however you want to get your narrative going, because there's always how many different stories and paths are there to Guns N' Roses. I still feel like there's no Guns N' Roses expert out there but Axl Rose. Only he knows what happened. The rest of us are just trying to put this together. So just to, like, with the management and put it, they have their reasons. I have no idea, but it makes you think where, yeah, Izzy had to have had a say in this being released. It's his likeness. That's him. It's being put out there. What was the contact? Was it just through lawyers? Has that prevented all the other releases that have gone out, that haven't come out? So that's interesting. But why have other bands been able to figure it out, who have perhaps had more band changes? But I don't want to focus on the negative. I do want to focus on the positive, because again, everything sounds great. It is cool to hear November Rain freshened up with an orchestral, an actual orchestra, 50-piece orchestra. Do you have any of the box set around you? Is there any show and tell that we can do?
Yeah, if you want to.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to do both of them, or if you want to do just the LP version or just the CD version, or
whatever got you excited, because
all right.
And I want to also clarify, while you're getting some stuff out, is the look of it, because it was worked on by our friend of the show, Arian Bueller, who does so many lithographs, and he's worked on the Shadow of Your Love video. He was up for a Grammy with the box set. He was with the art design. We should mention that too.
Yeah.
So these are award-winning box sets. Whatever you want to think about, whatever critiques we have as a fan, who knows? Maybe this will get nominated too. For whatever reason, the original artwork on Spotify, it just looked like a circus tent, or a popsicle on acid or something. And I love the Use Your Illusion covers. I mean, I have one of them tattooed on me. So I'm like, this is a work of art. Why did this come out so poorly? However, when you look at it, when you really look at it, when it's that optical illusion, when you look at one way and it's red, and it's one way it's blue, and they did a giant one. Perhaps you saw it when we shared on social media that it was outside the rainbow, right?
Yep.
A giant one of that looks badass. So the actual physical of it does look cool. So I want to soften my hate from earlier, that I was just so put off by the look of. I'm like, really? I'm like, this is it's supposed to be Raphael, School of Athens, and it just looks like a mess. Anyway, show and tell time.
Well, because they wanted to make a play on the word illusion. That's why they were looking for something to do, and that's how that came about. I mean, I guess you could have also gone with the hologram, or maybe a lenticular kind of thing.
Those things work. I think the 2D I didn't like. The 2D I
Right.
didn't like. 3D, everything else it works. But that's look at me. Look what I'm talking about. What a nerd I am.
And that's the way it is. Some things you have to see in person, right? It just is what it is.
Absolutely.
But, so I'll try showing you guys. This is the CD version. So they're both the LP one and the CD one are the same size in terms of, if you're looking at it like straight on. But the LP one is thicker, obviously, if you look at it from the side, because it's just more things in it, and way heavier, way heavier. But here you go.
How heavy?
I'll try to show it as best I can. and I'll try to show you like the effect. You can see like kind of the blue there, and there you go.
Yeah, right
You
there.
know?
Okay, see, I think that's cool. That is really
Yeah.
cool. So how heavy
Yeah.
would you think it is? Is it like a Yorkie Terrier? Like how big is it?
And on the back, it's got a track listing of everything, and of course, I don't know if you can see it on my camera, but you can go online and read all the tracks that are on it. I mean, if people want me to read it to them, I can.
No, you don't
But
have to
this
go
one-
through all the track list. That's okay. There's too many stuff. There's too much stuff.
And this one, as
Google.
you can see, it says promo only, right?
Not,
But
not for sale.
right. And the appetite box, the big box, right? It was numbered at a 10,000. My number is 00000. This is one of the promo one, right? So, right, I specifically asked for that one from them. But
Agent
okay, let's
Zero.
take it out. Let's see what we got inside.
This is cool
all
because I
kinds of
mean,
stuff.
I wish, I had the connects to be able to get this. And look, we're moving. We're in the process of moving to Forest Hill from one place in Queens to another.
Are you? Oh.
And there's so much stuff. We have so much crap. God, I have so many band T-shirts. So I mean, we gotta throw out stuff, and then we'll get more stuff after that. But
nice. So first off, there's a little I don't know what you call it. Like it's like it holds some stuff inside. Here's the front of it.
An insert, I guess.
Yeah, inserts, I guess, in the back. I don't know if you can see it. It has that blood logo, but all in black.
And how would you describe the front? Because it's the blue Use Your Illusion theme, but was that part of the original School of Athens? Who are they highlighting? Because it was the boy and the teacher on the cover. So what are they highlighting here?
On this one, it's some guy looks like he's laying down and kind of leaning on one arm, reading something. I'm not sure if that's in that original artwork or not. I'd have to pull it up and check. I assume it very well might be.
I would hope so. I mean, why? Yeah. Why would they redo it? School of Athens. I have sometimes high expectations. I'm like, Guns N' Roses, they're gonna get the great grandson of Raphael, and he's gonna do a specific painting. I don't know. That's ridiculous. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna see if I'm gonna bring it up here. I'm on two different computers.
Oh, right on, man. I'm sure it probably is on there. I'd have to imagine.
Yeah,
but maybe they came up with it just for this. I don't know.
Maybe. Show it to me again. Let me see.
Yeah, sure.
Show and tell time. You see, it's like an old guy. It looks like he's like reading something or spanking a guy. It's kind of weird. Oh, I see it. Okay, it's on the stairs.
Okay, so
it's a shadow. It's a shadow. Yes.
All right. Yeah.
It's basically right in the middle of the School of Athens paintings because they're all theologians on there. So that's what I loved about it. Guns N' Roses does the best art.
No doubt. And so then we got when they did before the Use Your Illusion tour started, right, in 1991, they did warm-up shows. If people don't know that already, a lot of people call them club gigs because they were at smaller places. And so they had these tickets. They're very cool looking. And these are the size of the original tickets as well. This one is for the Ritz, and I think they put the Ritz one in there because the show is the Ritz, right? That's on the Blu-ray. So they did, what was it, the Ritz, I think, LA, a show in Seattle. But there was also supposed to be a show in Detroit. There was supposed to be a show in Dallas that never happened. And a fourth location, another location that eludes me right now. But then they included some, I guess you would call it like a pass. During any tour, there's all kinds of passes that get handed out. So here's a guest pass from back then. It says "Club in It" on it. I don't know if you guys can read that, but this is a working personnel pass. For people. This is an after show pass. Always a cool thing to get if you can swing it, right?
Ooh, yeah. Pretty tied up logo.
And then this is just another guest pass. I'm not sure what the difference between that one and another one is.
Looks like a button.
Yeah, right. And And
Or
I
coaster.
think there's stickers. So if you want to apply it to something, you can. There's also a series of 8x10s of band members. So here we go. Axel.
Okay, that's a pretty famous photo of him in
Yeah,
the American flag
the
jacket.
jacket, right?
Almost like a
Slash,
windbreaker, like a
right.
windbreaker.
That's right. Yeah, the windbreaker looks like maybe he's in the studio or at his home or something here. I don't know. Um, here's one of Duff, right?
Oh, good stuff.
What's
Yeah,
interesting is
how did
that
he get better looking? He's like,
yeah, they put the 8x10s of other band members in here, which I'm surprised that I like
oh, I
the
see
fact that they
Gilby.
did.
Okay,
Yeah, Gilby.
so like, does
Uh,
he get a cut of that? He has to.
I wonder. That's a great question. Dizzy,
Oh
and
yeah,
finally, of course, two more actually. I'm sorry. Here's Matt.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, let me.
And
I'll tell you a secret, man. This is
yeah,
just between me and you. Okay,
yeah.
no one else. I really hope the next episode, it's knock on wood, it's supposed to be Matt Sorum.
Oh, that'd be great, man. Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, he's supposed to be coming on the pod. I've known for a couple weeks. It's just one of those, like, you never know. It could nothing's guaranteed. The only thing confirmed is Axel's love of Taco Bell, like he once said. I mean, he's been on the show before, but this time, I mean, that was right after the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
I was literally holding up a speakerphone to my laptop because I was forced to, work from home and I didn't have a setup. So this will hopefully be on Zoom. Anyway, I wanted to get that in there.
No,
Continue.
I thought his book was really interesting. I think he'd be a cool
It
person to
was.
have on. I'm sure he has a lot of great stories. I always thought he seemed like an alright guy. A lot of people don't think so for some reason, but he seems pretty straight to me, man. Like,
No, he was very cool. So I'll mention a couple of Doug Goldstein thoughts because he really loves the 180 that Matt, like who he has become. Like
oh,
he's stressed of that, and he's also talked to me about those warm up gigs because that was the first time that Axel really even met Matt. Like they had to get these theater dates before they went out. Like it's crazy. That's what's crazy about watching that Rich show.
right.
Like that's one of the first few times they really rehearsed with Axel. And he says in there, he's like, I can only rehearse in front of a crowd.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Like
I mean,
it's crazy.
I think it's can you imagine that kind of introduction to things, right? Just it's getting thrown in the deep end, man, right?
It's never changed. Brain told us the same thing his
Yeah,
first few shows. So
yeah.
that's Guns N' Roses, man. So that's why I love all those little trinkets and things like that. Tickets. Those are things I would, now if you're watching on Zoom, I guess have my logo, the virtual background. But as I said, I mentioned I'm moving. So normally I have all my toys and stuff behind me.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I move, I want to make a whole new radio studio behind
Oh,
me and all these
sweet.
little trinkets and
Yeah.
things like that. So is there anything else?
Yeah. And
Yep.
so here we've got this one's Izzy. I'm surprised that was included, but there you go.
Yeah, that's the
You know,
fascinating part. Is he's involvement or not involvement? I tweeted, of course, like he's not going to respond. I tweeted at him. So Izzy, did they split the loot equally on the on the box set? I hope so. I don't know. That's
well,
I'm being a jerk.
it's funny you may talk about Izzy because since I've had that banner, I've now had it signed by Duff / and Axel, right? And now I'm like, oh man, maybe I painted myself into a corner here because Steven, I think, would be pretty easy to get if I finally drag my ass to one of his shows, right? He seems like a pretty approachable guy. Izzy, though, I have no idea how I'm ever going to get that signature, but
Well, how'd
hey,
you get
man,
Axels? That's
yeah.
pretty. How'd you get Axels? That's rare.
So it's a long story that I better,
Another time, or
yeah,
just
maybe not
sorry,
share
or
with the
leave.
world, but
Okay, fair enough.
yeah, but I got it.
Okay.
Um, but they also put this in there. So when, the band has had a fan club for a long time, at least, even from the early days,
Yep.
even Appetite for Destruction, when the User Illusion days, they started putting out these folders and they were black instead of the red folders from the Appetite days. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of hard to see if there's an embossed Guns N' Roses, like, the Pistols and Roses logo, and then it says Conspiracy Incorporated
Well,
there.
that's cool, and I could see
Yeah.
where it's imprinted when you hold it up to the light. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
And then inside, so you have the original. No, it's not original. It's, it's made from this
Sure.
box set, but the membership card in red there. Is held onto
Oh,
the folder.
your own little Guns N' Roses blockbuster card.
I don't think these are, again, just copies of the original newsletters from back then. There's 4 of them, I believe. Yep, and they talk about, like, there's interviews with the band members. There's like pen pal section, all that kind of stuff, right? I think people will get a kick out of it. I hope.
No,
If
this stuff
not,
looks
that's cool. Right. Then there's
Mhm.
these
Ooh,
like these folders. There's a red one and a blue one, and I believe I haven't even tried this out yet, but I'll try it out in a minute. So I don't know if you remember with the Appetite box, they had a I wouldn't call it a lithograph that makes it sound like it's like 18 by 24 size, but they had like a little design for each song, right? If people remember that. I think what they did for this, I believe the idea is that if you put it in the blue folder, it shows one thing. If you put it in the red folder, it shows something else. I think
Ooh.
because if you can check it out right here. I'll show you one without putting in any folder yet. It looks like this.
A couple.
Right. So it's
it's part of, it's another painting. It's not school.
Almost like a do you remember what, like, the
16th
3D
chapel
glasses? No, the
Okay.
3D glasses are right.
Yes.
And so I think if you put it in let's see what it looks like in the blue folder real quick. I'll put it in here.
So yeah, it looks like that the characters kind of look like that 16th chapel old school thing, but yes,
Yeah.
it's the design, the 3D glasses, it seems to be the technology of the folder you're putting it into.
Right.
Yeah.
And so again, that's what it looks like, regular.
And it says
in the
lost
blue folder,
and you put it in
now
blue.
it looks like that.
Okay, so it kind of cleans it up a bit so you can see it all nice and
Part of that painting, I'm guessing, still, right? That original painting there.
this girl is touching this bear guy's chest. I like it. Very sexual.
Now let me put it in the red folder and see what happens here. I'm assuming something's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe not.
This is reminiscent of Ghostbusters 2. You're going to see Vigo.
That's a great reference, man. Dude, that's a great reference.
Thank you. Sorry, the red reminded me of it.
And now it says like Lost in the Garden of Eden, and there's
oh yeah, that wasn't there before.
Yeah. So I think that's, again, kind of a play on the whole illusion thing, right? If you put it in one, you get something. I mean, if you guys want, I can show you all of them, or you can find out for yourselves when you look at them. But pretty interesting. There's a poster, but it's just that, everyone remembers that poster of the whole band behind that.
I used to have that. Yeah, the Dead Wanted poster. I used to have that poster myself. Sure.
Right. And so it's just that poster. Nothing new about it or anything. But then there's the book. And again, one of those things you have to kind of hold to see. But I'll show it to you guys in a minute. But to me, it feels like really good quality. It's really nice looking and everything. But here you go. That's the front cover.
Okay, definitely another part of School of Athens. And by the way, before I lose it, I did the research. I did some producing while you were playing show and tell of the cover of the guy kind of just chilling there in the middle. It's Diogenes of Sinope. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. A cynic philosopher, a student who lived in, his father was Ionices, was a banker with his beggar cup. Oh yeah, here we go. With his beggar cup lying deep in thought on the steps. This was a finely conceived figure which deserves high praise for its beauty and the appropriate negligence of its clothing. So I don't know what that
means. Well, there you go, folks. You learned something on this podcast, right?
Thanks, Google. We hope that's right. We hope it's right.
Here's the back of the book. Again, more of that painting, I'm assuming. Then, all right. So if we open it up, in the front, you have the first 4 CDs, and it's more artwork and stuff. I'll try to show it in the light.
Kind of like you
can see sort of, right?
A shiny CD case.
Right. Now if we turn the page here, now it just says in black, like, use your illusion. Again, the light changed on me. Hold on a second here.
No, you're doing your best, Mr. Rogers. I appreciate it. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, it's a little bit better. But in the back, you have the other CDs. There we go. And the Blu-ray is in that pocket right there.
Oh, okay, that's where they
Yeah.
store it. That's cool.
Yep. And it says Guns N' Roses live in New York. And if you can read that, but
They can.
anyhow,
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe that's why they're not selling it separately yet, if at all.
then throughout this book, I don't know if you guys remember. So when the Appetite box, it was a lot of memorabilia, right?
Mhm.
And then a few pictures supposedly that had never been released. I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff, if they really have been out there or not. This one goes a lot heavier on pictures of the band, especially in concert. Now, again, whether these pictures have been out there or not, you guys will be able to tell me. I mean, some of them clearly are, but other ones I have never seen. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think a lot of the feedback from the other release was that people wanted more pictures and stuff. Sadly, I don't think it's pictures of them when they're recording the album. A lot of people wanted that kind of stuff,
Oh yeah,
like in the studio, right?
you don't really see that at all.
Yeah, right. Here's kind of a cool one of Izzy. I like the purple kind of background going on here,
Behind Izzy, yeah.
know.
Man, that was okay. I mentioned before there was a few themes watching the DVD, and maybe you want to pay attention. Maybe you would have noticed these. Maybe it's just me being weird. One, speaking of Izzy, he was noticeable. You would forget he was there half the time because he would just go in the back in the shadows, like that picture, and just hang out with Matt Sorum while Axel, Slash, and Duff are all running around like madmen. And the other thing is, while I would forget about Izzy too. And look, I say this as a happily married man. I love my wife, Shauna. I do. And I don't care, this is a heads up to the ladies. I don't care what your sexual preference is. The camera director made clear decisions to zoom in and pan down on Axel and Slash's Mr. Brownstones the entire show. Like, I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, whatever. They're both like, they're young and they're in their 20s, great cut. They have that sexy V that I wish I had. But the camera thing just pans down. I'm like, oh, and there's Mr. Rose's Rose. I'm like, wow, okay. So wow. So they I couldn't help but notice it. I couldn't help but avoid it. So be aware. That's a spoiler alert. There's a lot of Axel and Slash dick. not literally. You don't actually see it, but wow, those bicycle shorts, man, you forget about that because he doesn't dress like that anymore. You forget about it, and that led nothing to the imagination. Oh,
I mean,
God. I've got myself in trouble.
I kind of like the fact that they, pander to people who want to see that kind of thing.
Yeah, all inclusive.
Because sometimes I gotta say, like, sometimes I feel like they, especially with merchandise, with shirts and stuff, right? At the concerts and all that, they kind of leave women out of that equation a lot, right? Like, a lot of times there isn't like the right cut that women want. For example, think about what I call the lithograph shirt. A lot of people call it the event shirt. That there's usually, for every show, you have the lithograph, and you have a shirt that has the lithograph design on it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And most of the time in recent shows, it's a little pocket design on the chest section, and then the lithograph designs on the back, right?
I have that of Austin City Limits.
Yeah, and a lot of women and maybe even some men, have long hair, and so they want the design on the front instead, right? And now when they started doing that merch truck for the U.S. shows, the merch truck one had the design on the front, and that's why a lot of people like that, But anyway, so yeah. Not that I'm saying only women want to see the close-up shot of Axel and Slash there, but for anyone who wants to see it, there you go. It's there for everyone to enjoy.
Just another. There are people who replied to my tweet saying, "I'm sold. I'm gonna buy it just based upon that." So I'm selling Blu-rays. Whether it's Izzy, Shannon Hoon, or Axel's Rose, it doesn't. I mean, it's still it really is a fascinating watch. It is very cool. This whole thing is great, man. Maybe somebody wants to get it for me as a belated wedding gift. Who knows?
Nice, man. I love it.
Before we get out of here, though, because I'm curious. I'm jealous a little bit of not just your collection, but you You did a bucket list thing for many people. You traveled to Japan to see Guns N' Roses, and I've talked about, as I've done some fan reviews, I'll do more, of course. I people in Latin American countries and Scotland and Canada on all over, but I wanted to do some within Japan. So if there aren't any Japanese fans out there who are from the region, and just because I like knowing about the cultures too, but just as a traveler though, tell me about that. Just the flight itself, my God. As somebody who needs to take Dramamine, I'm getting nauseous thinking about it.
Well, for me, I had multiple reasons for going to these shows. For anyone who doesn't know, I went to the Japan shows and the Thailand show.
In Thailand, wow.
I wanted to add Singapore on, but I couldn't get enough time off work to make that happen. So, but I have friends, there. A lot of you guys, you probably know this guy. You can call him Ricky or Rich, but he's a lithograph guy, the guy that has all of them, that has that website, litherati.com,
Yep.
I know him very well. We've hung out in person many times before. So, and he lives in Japan. So
that's right.
I was there to see him. But there's other people I know over there too. A lot of you guys know who Toshi is. She's been to like 150 during our shows, right? Then there's fans in Thailand who I've known online, but I've never met in person yet. And so, multiple reasons for going. But another reason for going is, as you guys all know, just looking behind me, and if you know about me, I'm a big merchandise person. And for some reason, and look, we can get into whether or not is it cool to buy stuff on the market and the aftermarket like eBay and stuff, because you could argue we're just contributing to the prices of things going crazy by doing that. But what can I say? Sometimes that's the only way to get it.
Right.
And for the Thailand and Japan shows in the past, usually that merchandise is the hardest to get of anything else, right? So that's another reason I went, was to get this stuff.
Wow.
So
it's kind of like a mission almost.
Yeah, it was. And the flight out, I flew from Seattle to Narita. I think it was like a 10 and a half hour flight, longest flight I've been on. But I'm someone who can easily sleep on planes, not a problem.
Good for you.
Yeah, and so it's kind of weird with the whole Dateline thing when you that's crossing that it messes with your head and everything. But
I'm sure.
It was uneventful. And when I got there, Rich, again, people know him as Ricky maybe on Facebook, but he met me at the airport, and he was pretty much my companion the whole Japan trip, because he can read and speak and understand Japanese as well, right? So it helps to have him there. I won't get into some of the adventures we had. That might be more his story to tell. But our plan was to go to bed, at least my plan anyway, was to go to bed that night, like around 10 or 11, and then maybe wake up at 10 or 11 the next day, because I didn't know how tired I would be from the flight and all that kind of shit, right? And then go to the venue, right? The cool thing about Japan, they put this on their website. They show exactly what they're going to be selling, what the prices of everything is, what time it's going on sale. It's kind of nice, right? Again, so then we're sleeping. We get a text at like 7 a.m. There's already like 100 people in line just for merchandise. So I was like, shit. So we get up and we go there. The cool thing about Japan, what ended up happening is they limited They limited, there we go, the lithographs to one per person. I'm really glad they did, because for sure there was resellers in front of us. Like, these people were buying like 50 shirts and shit.
Aren't they doing that now? For like, they're doing that now. I think,
oh yeah,
it should be that way, because I don't. That's not fair.
Well, look, since we're talking about it, I'll give you my quick opinion of this. Right?
Okay.
Personally, I don't buy these things just to go and sell them, to fans for a ton of money, right? However, I won't call it the hate, but maybe everyone's energy should be directed at the right people. Like, direct it, whoever, I don't know, no, I don't, before I even say that, I don't know who that is exactly, right? But direct it towards the correct people. Who's ever responsible for the shows where they don't limit it and you can buy as many as you want, right? They're the people who are responsible for this, not the people taking advantage of it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I mean, and the people who decide to mean, think about it. You have a show, not in this case, right? For the Japan shows, they did 350 posters for each one, right? But um, there's been shows like London where there's like 70,000 people in attendance, so you have 120 printed. It's like, what the fuck is going on here, right? You know.
Right.
So again, I would say directed at those people, but anyway, for Japan, yeah, they did limit it, or at least for the lithos, not for the shirts, evidently, right? And so thankfully they did, because if they didn't, I'm not sure we would have gotten one with our place that we had in line. And you know, it was great. Then again, they were sold like 4 or 5 hours before the doors open. And there was a train station right there that had lockers in it, so you could put the stuff in there. You don't have to bring it with you to the concert. We got something to eat. Then we went to the show, and it was great, man. The Japan people, they rock out hard, I gotta say. And it was interesting for the Japan shows. I don't know if it's a COVID thing or if it's by design. There was no general admission or pit area. It was all seats.
Okay.
And yeah, they're kind of rare for a GNR concert, right? And when you bought your tickets, like the floor tickets, that's where we were, like, right, you know, you didn't know where you were buying a ticket for. It was like a crapshoot, right? And so thankfully it kind of worked out. Our tickets were still pretty close and kind of in the center and everything. There was no what do you call it, like a ramp or whatever, you know, that juts out from the stage that sometimes Axel might walk out onto. Right?
Sure.
It wasn't that. It was just a completely straight stage. And you know, they even had like in the stadium itself, they had like a little Tower Records booth set up, you know.
Well, that's cool.
Because again, Tower Records, for you know, everyone doesn't know, is out of business now. But in Japan, they were able to keep the name, and so they have several Tower Records stores there, like in Tokyo.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's
And they even had a little thing set up inside, and we were selling CDs and stuff. It was pretty cool to see. I loved that store back when it was open. You know,
Sure, I'm from that generation too. I mean, it's
the midnight releases, man. Right? You know.
Sure, yeah. I got to see, thanks to the power of social media, a lot of Japanese Guns N' Roses fans were posting some of the Distort displays, and I was jealous. I'm like, wow, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it, for someone who doesn't have the means, it made me like I kind of want to buy it. It looks so nice and shiny here. It looks really awesome. So that's,
oh man. But then like the people in front of us when we were buying merch, because my friend could understand them, I guess they were competitors. I don't know. They were arguing with each other. They were about to get bust out in a fight and everything.
Okay.
Other than that, Japan's very organized. Like when it opened, there wasn't a mass rush of people. It's one line that's going along. It's very organized. I love it. For me, I'm more of that kind of person, so I like that kind of thing. And by the way, inside too, look, I try not to judge how anyone enjoys a show. That's their business, right? But I think we all know, if anyone's been to a US show, a rock show, or a metal show, sometimes fans can get either drunk at the show or even beforehand, you know, to the point of being belligerent, right? And
Sure.
it can be kind of obnoxious, right? In Japan, they were selling beer, but people buy like one, maybe two, that's it. And that's it, you know.
They know how to party. They know how to party.
Yeah. So it was great. And by the way, the opening band was awesome. The first night was called the band called Loudness.
Old school. They're classic, aren't they?
And by the way, yeah, they're right. I didn't know they've been around since 1981. First Japan metal act to ever be signed to a US label.
Yeah.
And they were louder than Guns N' Roses. So
they lived up to the name.
That's rare for an opening act, right? You know, but then the second day was all the same shit. Like we were waking up at 7 a.m. again to go down in line. The stuff went on sale like an hour earlier because the doors were opening an hour earlier because they had two opening bands this time. There's one band called Bandmade. They were awesome. Oh my God, they were so good. The other band, was it Ryo Serra or something? Apparently they do like soundtracks to anime films and stuff. That's their big claim to fame anyway.
Oh wow.
And they were good too. Like it was really good opening bands. And then again, the concerts were great. The second show they varied it a little bit. They played like Better, which I don't think I had been played in a while, maybe. You know, they played like, you know, a lot of the songs I want to hear. You know, I gotta say, because of what happened, was it in Mexico or somewhere in South America? I think at one of the sound checks they played I don't know if they played the whole thing, but played the riff at least of Don't Damn Me. I was kind of hoping maybe they would break that out, but alas, that did not happen. But still, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun seeing a concert in another country and just experiencing another country and what it's all about and everything.
What
And
about
again,
Thailand? I mean, how was
well,
Thailand?
yeah, so Thailand. um, I got in, I flew in, and that night I went to this other hotel to meet up with a friend to get dinner that lives there. Um, and that was great. And then he wanted to hang out more, but I was going to bed early because, again, I was waking up at 6 a.m. the next day to go to the venue. So I got to the venue like around 7:30 in the morning. I was the first one there, not including there's, a few staff members or whatever, right? But and the venue is this big open air stadium. They do a lot of soccer matches there and everything, right? In front of it, they have these two huge, like covered areas, right? So it blocks like the sun out and or the rain out. Thankfully, it wasn't raining, but it was very sunny and very humid. And there's like this one road into the place that they had it blocked off like this rolling gate kind of thing. So the taxi dropped me off. I'm kind of just standing around for a few minutes. But then, the gate only blocks cars. Like people can still walk in and out, right? So I just walked into the grounds and no one stopped me. And then like back under one of those covered areas, I can see where this is where they're going to be setting merchandise up later, right? So that's where I go to stand. And I'm standing there and I didn't ask for one, but they even brought like a chair for me and everything. I was like, oh, this is nice. That's great, right? Then like a little while later, another fan showed up and we're kind of communicating as best we can through Google Translate and
Wow.
everything, right? And then like around 9:30 or 10, the security guy comes over and he's like, and again, he's talking in Thai, but I'm kind of getting the gist, right? Like we can't be in here. We have to go wait at the main gate area where I got dropped off earlier. So I'm kind of trying to tell him, like, I don't know how many people are out there at this point, right? But I'm like telling him, okay, but I'm number one, right? Because I said I've been here since 7:30, right? And he was like, okay, oh yeah, fine. So we get out there. There wasn't really that many people out there anyway. So I met all these people that were out there. Some of them spoke English, some of them didn't. People from Europe, and everything. There's people from different places. But again, yeah. So we stood there in the sun and the fucking humidity, man, until 5 p.m., dude. And of course, right when everything opens is right when the sun's going down naturally, right? But to me, I find it very shameful and disgraceful that, and I get it, I'm not as used to the sun as most, maybe especially a lot of local people might be very used to it, right? But, and maybe a bigger guy, I don't handle the heat and humidity as well as other people do, but still, I actually do. I'm pretty resilient in terms of that, based on different places I've lived in my life. But still, it was brutal. For me, it was more like the lack of sleep. This entire trip, I had like zero sleep for a lot of different reasons I won't get into. But so as you can imagine, they had barricades set up on either side of that road that goes into this place, right? And there's people waiting on both sides. And by the way, thankfully, I'm not a complete idiot. I had sunscreen with me, I had water with me, and some food and stuff. But anyway, eventually, at 5 o'clock, they just opened these barricades. And imagine thousands of people rushing in. There were people getting knocked down, trampled, all that, all to rush into these. They had these 2 single file entry areas. Imagine hundreds of people trying to squeeze in at the same time, showing your vaccination record to who's ever manning these things. Then you go to these tables, but not all tables are the same. It depends on what ticket you bought in this, what section of the stadium you bought your ticket for. And then you had to show them your phone, show them the QR code or whatever, and then you get a bracelet. Not a bracelet, like a wristband is what I meant to say, right? Then there was a merch line. And the merch table, it was insane. There was no clear line. It was just totally fucked up. But I knew there was still that other merch stand inside, that one I was waiting at earlier in the day, right? So I said, fuck this. I got out of that line. I went right to the metal detector line. And the metal detector line, I was like maybe 3rd or 4th in line. Not bad at all, right? That opened like an hour later. And then, so we went in, and then I went to that merch table that was inside. Again, I was maybe like 3rd or 4th in line. Didn't matter. All the posters gone, all the shirts gone. Just the staff fucking pilfered all of it. And apparently the same thing happened at the 2017 Bangkok show. And that would have even been worse, because for the Japan show, for those who don't know, and the Thailand show, they didn't do the whole like VIP early entry shit. None of that for these shows. I don't know why. I can't answer that. But in the 2017 Thailand show, I wasn't there, but I get to talk to people that were. They did do the early entry thing that you could pay for, right? Imagine paying for it and there being nothing left either. I'd be super pissed off. Anyway, so I was really kind of pissed off and upset. And by the way, so Thailand, I can't say for all of Thailand, but it for at least Bangkok and the areas that I saw during my limited time there. And again, I'm not criticizing anyone or the country itself when I say this. It kind of seems like bribery is a bit of a thing there, right? Which is fine. And I had money on me. I had a lot of Thai money on me. But you know, that guy that made me leave at 9:30 or 10 in the morning, right? How was I going to bribe him anyway? I can't speak fucking Thai, right? English. What am I going to say, right? You know?
It's such a dangerous situation. I admire you for doing it, because you can be taken advantage of. And I mean, in all cultures, there's shifty people, but it sucks because we've spoken about other Guns N' Roses shows where there have just been promoters that have been taking advantage of the fans, and it's not Guns N' Roses' fault.
Right.
You know, it's just not their fault. There's nothing they could do, and they try to work.
Absolutely, I don't blame, Gene. Of course, not the band, but even the people who work for the band. Because from what I understand, what I've been told is that the merchandise, there is someone that works for the band that makes sure the merchandise, gets there and everything, right, and gets in the hands of the right person, the promoter or whatever you want to call it, who's running the merchandise stands. And then they're the ones who deal with, selling it all, right? And by the way, the second Japan show, they had a sign up. It was in Japanese, of course, but it said like, if we think you're a reseller, we'll reserve the right not to sell anything to you, right?
Good,
and everything. Good. So it's good that some shows they do this. And by the way, again, another part of the problem, the Thailand show, there was only 130 of the posters anyway, right? So these weird numbers that they print, someone tried to explain it to me many times why they do this. Something about like, oh, it generates buzz or interest. I'm like, the interest is already there. Like, there are some artists that they release posters or lithographs, right? And they do what's called a timed release, meaning, like, for example, okay, I have this poster. It's going on sale right now, starting now. Tomorrow at noon is when it ends, right? If 908 of them sell, then 908 is the number, right? If only 3 sell, then 3 is the number, right? And I think I would like them to maybe start doing something like this, and this way people who don't go to the shows but still want one can get one maybe mailed to them, and people that do go to the shows can get it mailed to them. This way you don't have to protect it at the show, right? Because certain shows don't allow tubes in, certain shows don't allow re-entry, so you never know. Like it's always a bit of a risk, But anyhow, and maybe this is me being a little bit of a bitch or whatever, but I was really pissed off, and I just went back to the hotel. I didn't go to the show. Now, I took a chance there, right? I took a risk because maybe I would have missed like "Don't Damn Me" or something, right?
Okay.
Thankfully, the set list was pretty much identical. And I'm not, again, that's not criticism. It just worked out for me that it was. I'm glad it was, right? And again, you could argue it's even stupid because I paid for a ticket, and again, it's not the band's fault. I'm not blaming the band, but I was just mad, and I just didn't want to deal with it all.
Well, if you were on a mission, and you've seen Guns N' Roses before, and thankfully it was a similar show you've seen, and I don't know, it's interesting. I
will say this, for me, and everyone's different, right? For me, my favorite part of going to the shows always is meeting either people I knew online, never met in person, or meeting completely new fans and hanging out with them and talking with them. And we did that all day in line. And I can't remember some of your names, but you know who you were. And it was great meeting you, seeing you, and talking with you. Sorry I wasn't there after the show, but next time, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah.
Right on. And I feel that same way too. And that's why I enjoyed not just talking to you, but just having this platform to talk to Guns N' Roses fans who I just don't even meet at the shows. I'm hearing about other states where we're from, other parts of the country, or literally other countries, other parts of the other hemispheres. Because I really do think it's fascinating the way the merch works, and I guess to kind of bring it all together, if it's a business and you want to maximize everything, right? Why wouldn't they have more of these things available? Like,
Mhm.
thankfully, I was able to get the Minnesota, the St. Paul Peanuts Snoopy shirt off the GNR truck, but I didn't go.
Yeah.
However, I'm lucky enough to have gotten the Fargo lithograph because of a listener, Eric P., who happened, he was allowed to get more than one. So he wasn't a reseller. He was nice enough just to give me one.
Well, that's a great point right there. I think maybe they should limit them, but instead of one per person, maybe like 3 or 5 per person, because some people are generally there to get ones for other fans, like your friend did for you. And
Yes,
so
that is true.
maybe some kind of split the difference kind of thing here, right? And I don't know what the magic number is. That's maybe not for me to determine, but yeah, no, I totally understand people in that situation. And if I could have gotten more or even gotten one in the case of the Thailand show, I would have for friends of you out there, but sorry, I couldn't, Yeah.
What's next on the adventures of Tim Troccoli?
Well, other than like, finally getting this website under control and everything of mine, I don't know. I mean, I think I have a feeling GNR is going to go back to Europe next summer. Not only for that Glasgow gig to reschedule that, right? But I don't think they're going to drag everything over there for one show. I think they'll probably play other shows. I can't tell you when or where those shows are, but I would love to go to Europe for a show. Ultimately, I gotta say, if I had a dream place to see a Guns N' Roses show at, and if we're talking not small places, we're talking like stadiums or whatever, right? Buenos Aires would be it for me.
Yep.
I mean, imagine everyone,
Yep.
every single person in that stadium knowing the words and singing along. To me, that's a dream.
Yep. I agree with you there. I mean, just talking this, the fans doing this podcast, it's something else. It's like a unifying people as one, as a wave. It's something here in America we don't experience, and it's cool. It was cool to grow up seeing watching the Tokyo DVDs, to watch those fans and seeing how passionate they were at that show, and they are a very passionate fan base. Honestly, I feel like here in America we have the worst. I don't know. Maybe I think because we're just so spoiled because we have everything all the time, especially for me in New York. I mean, I'm not that fan, but it's just people become jaded, and it's when you go to these remote locations. That's why, yeah, you didn't go to Thailand, but just wow, I guess wonder like what the band thinks. It's like wow, they're in Thailand. This little Lafayette boys in Thailand. Does it still dawn on him that it's like this? It's pretty astounding and pretty amazing, and I appreciate you sharing not just your playing show and tell with the box set, but talking about your adventures.
And by the way, real quick, for those who don't know, and speaking of the box in Japan and everything else, the Japan CDs have extra tracks on them that are not available here. Just so everyone knows. So you might want to pick up those Japan releases if you're into that kind of thing. Again, nothing like new songs or anything like that. We're talking live tracks, right? But they're not available on releases here. Yeah.
I believe it was also Doug. There was a question asked to him, and I wouldn't have thought about it. So credit to the person if you know who originally asked this, like why the live era had coma on it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's something about Japanese releases because I think American imports are cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm right on this. So it helps you buy homegrown and you by getting more. So that's smart. See,
Absolutely.
they got it right. They know what they're doing over there. At least Guns N' Roses and concert wise, I don't know. I need to have a globe near me. I'm lucky I know where I am half the time. But Tim, this was a lot of fun. Hopefully it won't be too much longer before your next appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was great.
And we'll see. Is there going to be a spaghetti incident box set? Is it going to look like a TV dinner? Like what are we doing here?
Well, I of course that's one of the things I asked when they were doing this box set, right? Because the spaghetti incident kind of overlapped with User Illusion in a lot of ways. I mean, not obviously when User Illusion was released, but for example, the Estranged single was being released at the time, like Spaghetti Incident was coming out. So there's an overlap of those two eras, right?
Yep.
And I thought maybe they would include it kind of like how they included Lies in the Appetite box, not including One in a Million, obviously. But but no, he didn't want to for some reason. And I doubt very much there will be one, or for Oh My God or Live or anything. But maybe for China's Democracy, we'll see. You know,
We got
and
to
who
get more
knows?
music.
Maybe there'll be a 50th anniversary Appetite or User Illusion or 40th. Who knows how they do these things, right? But
You're right. You're right. You're right. It's
we'll
not like
see.
they can't celebrate it again for the next whatever arbitrary anniversary, even number, whatever it is, bicentennial kind of thing. But it's all good. It's all gravy because you've been a fan even longer than me, and you've been collecting. You know about their history and the fact that they're out there doing it right now all over the world. And we're talking about this show that's over 30 years old, and we're all excited like it's new because
Yeah.
it's beautiful to listen to. It's beautiful to watch. So yeah, if you have the means, get the box set, or if you're like Tim, just get the promo. No one's like Tim. Tim only not for sale. Tim is not for sale.
Just
But
lucky
yeah,
is all. Just lucky.
and I'm lucky. I am grateful that as a fan that because they don't have to make these things available on streaming, so I get them for free, going on YouTube and
Yeah.
Spotify and iHeart or whatever. So it's good. I wash my dishes to music. So
Nice. Yeah,
listening,
man.
it was interesting. This is true. Doing the dishes now, it was back-to-back versions of Right Next Door to Hell. First they had the remastered, and then they did the live version because I have it on shuffle. I was like, you know what?
Yes.
Let me listen to it back to back. Okay, it's fine. I like this song. So
That's
very
great.
cool. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next one? It should be Matt Sorum, but we'll see. I'm nervous, knocking on wood. These things, I've become very wary of announcing things before they happen because
Don't count chickens, right? Yeah, until they hatch.
But you know what? That's how we get questions. It's why I've been doing this throughout the years I've been doing the podcast, so I stop now. So next up, Matt Sorum talking about Kings of Chaos and whatever else we come up with. So when are you going to see that episode? Well, the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.